what the game is about, what the game mechanics are about. So you could say Super Mario is a game about, not some plumber, it's a game about jumping. Some theorists even say that verbs are the protagonists of games, as we see them develop over gameplay time. And now, if you recall, I brought you here to this point of the discussion by first talking about representation and then going further and further and further to action. So, for the rest of this class, I want us to look at actions and how to implement them and why to implement them this way or that way. And we can see, this is still in the vein of thinking about games as protagonists. Over the course of gameplay, we will learn as players how a game will develop, like the main character of the game. So first Mario can jump in Super Mario Brothers, they can jump like this, and then they can jump like this. But if we take a closer look, there's two different things here. We see the avatar jump, and this kind of jump here can mean different things. It can mean evade or avoid, don't run into the enemy here. It can mean attack if you land there, or it can mean like not really climb, but actually jump. But these are already three different meanings of the same input. So these are two different layers of a verb. The thing that is represented within the game world, and the artists among you will spend a lot of time thinking about this, what is represented. As a game designer, you will have to spend a lot of time to think about how to actually create this movement and make it accessible for the player. And I chose Super Mario because this is the starting screen of the first Super Mario game from 1986. And it tells us everything that we can do with a verb, because it shows us all the elements in their core form within the game. It shows us go there, go, avoid, evade the enemy, which is moving towards us, jump against or collide with could be another verb. This one to get a reward, and overcome obstacle, climb would be another verb. So it tells us the core gameplay elements of the Super Mario game franchise here in the first screen. This is why this has been worked over time and again and again and again before release in order to be one of the actually best game openers in the world. Because if you ever played Super Mario Brothers, you will know this game gives you an easy entrance because it shows you everything you can do and it presents you with all the challenges that you will have in the game in their smallest form. And they will increase and they will become bigger and more difficult as they develop. So, just a little excursus here. I said there are two layers, two verbs, gameplay verbs. The actual input, press X, press B, and so on, and the meaning of the input, which is something else. I would argue that there are not only two different aspects of a verb, but there are six. I will introduce you to these six by our first task, for which you will need the Miro board. So, short introduction to this. Let's go back to the travel game. And let's apply these dimensions, these components of the verb on the game. Let's do this together, okay? The meaning, which word would describe the verb within the game world? Jump, shoot, run, and I already said it before. Any guesses?
Guess.
Yes.
The verb is guess.
within the gameplay world. Are you sure? Because I would argue now, and I'm contradicting because I would argue this is the challenge. This is why the verb is difficult to do, because this is what you actually do. You guess yourself. But what you did here is you found the third component. So travel. Travel. That's what I meant initially. So, but very good. You find the third component, which is challenge. So travel within the game world. That avatar, something which we don't really met before, travels from country to country within the game world. You see?
Goal would be then get to the place.
Get to the place on the fastest way possible. This would be the goal. What is the player's intention by using the verb? Which result do they intend? Get to the location as on the shortest way that is possible. Okay. Input. What does the player actually do when using the verb? Ha. You could be right, but it's not what I mean. On a certain level, you could be right. I think this is the challenge, but I heard writing here.
Type and click, please.
Type and click, that's what I meant. The input, the technical input of this.
So what I do to get to the result?
Yes, type and click. Okay. So this is the input. You could call it differently. You could call it interaction, or you could call it somewhat. I call it input. What the player actually does with their hands, or when playing football with their feet, and so on, or with their fingers. So you see, there are these different aspects. Challenge here is, we mentioned this before, we said this before, challenge is the difficult thing about the verb. Is, well, remembering what were the maps like, how did it look, where is this country located again. So this is the difficult thing, and this is just a challenge towards you yourself as a player. This is what makes the game intriguing. This is what makes it a challenge to you. You could call it differently, but I just call it challenge. So, but there are two more. I'll start with output. How will the player be informed about their success in using the verb?
Green and red, right and wrong.
For example, yes, true. And we found even more. We found display of country shapes.
Borders and whatnot.
And we found these. We found this little graphic effects when we won the game and so on. As I talked before about failure and how the game deals with failure, this is also the dimension of how will they be informed about what happens and if they are successful and if they're not. And now, this is for the programmers here, the quality. How will the game mechanics determine the player's success in using the verb? So obviously, it's not very difficult here. You have a database with different countries and they are aligned in a way. There is a true answer to this, and the game will just check is the way really the shortest one, or it will calculate it. So, but this is what the game does. This is the mechanics, the core mechanics, which you find behind the user interface. This is the inner workings of the game. So, and the programmers among you will find a solution to this, or it will be their job to find a solution to this. I would call it quality. You could also call it core mechanics. You could also call it back end, if you will. So, okay. I said this will be our first task. So now I would like you all to go to Miro, and have a look at this. So I made a few tables here so everyone can contribute here, and I want you all to analyze one verb in one game. And I gave you two examples here. So I did it for the verb jump in Super Mario Brothers. You can have a look at this. And I also did it with attack in the game of chess. So I deliberately chose a non-digital game here to show you if this is not only true for digital games, but also for a classic game of chess like this, which is represented digitally nevertheless. You're also seeing chess. So let's say we take like 15 minutes. So at 35, we'll see what you got. So I want everyone to, we did this, we traveled here, and I want everyone to select one of the columns here and find one verb from one game, be it card game, board game, video game, whatever, and try to answer these questions and try to use this template or this heuristics that I just introduced to you to analyze the game, the verb of the game. Any questions?
How can we access?
Yeah, I can't really access
Okay, does it require a password?
I mean, I have just entered with my college email, but it does us about
You can, okay, you can, there's supposed to be a temp drive where you all can access, and there is a txt file which is called Miro access or Miro data. Very small txt file from today.
No, there's not.
No?
I mean, I just entered the game with a browser and it tell us about their key, which was the code.
Okay. Strange.
One link. Did that.
We'll have to. So is there it's the J drive, I think. It's the J drive, and the file is called Miro login.
Yes, I found it. Okay. Oh, there's a link. Okay.
And in the file you will find the link and the password, so you can just copy paste it into your browser. You can also find it here.
The password is the one given.
Okay, yeah, it's there.
Is it?
I don't know.
So, no? Find the J drive?
Yeah, but there's no model.
No, you don't need a microphone, you just go on the J drive. And then you scroll down. And you find the text. Work?
Okay, found it. Found it.
You got the download link there. Go to the J drive.
Okay.
And just copy paste this into your browser and this is
So,
just in
find
case
the
you
red
need
last.
this.
So we enter any game, no?
Any game you want,
And
one
then-
verb from the game. And then you one verb from
Any
the
game, and just like, okay, we're
Just
done.
like this.
Super Mario, yeah, okay.
And just read it.
Yeah,
You don't actually need your email. I.
Hmm. Can we, any video game, any board game?
Any game you want.
Okay.
Does it work here? Does it work? So go to the J drive. Scroll down a little. This PC. Oh, that's the J drive. There's the J drive. Yeah. Copy this into the camera. Just
Thomas was alone. Alone in colors.
Okay. So, what you can try to do now is to describe the development of the work. So, how could you combine it with another level element? Or what would happen if you transfer it to another platform with other key mapping and key device? Are there any changes to the experiments or fields that are done? So you could try this, because this will be the next step for a reason. Further useful variations on one customer transformation.
I'm also done.
Also done? Okay. You have realized you already made the decision here.
Yeah, that's that being input.
Yeah, you made a decision here to think with two inputs, two different inputs as one verb, which is fine, but you made it this is an aesthetic decision you made here. It's a design decision you made here.
It's also you can write it with objects left and right, that's one input. Another input is like making the wall files.
So it's a good example. Please bring it up one more time. Because we can show the other stuff. You can now try to make variations of this. So how could you change one of these layers? What would be, which alternatives could you work? What would be the effects? What would be the effects of this if you change something?
Yeah, this one always like giving me a lot of trouble because I need to think it in a programming way and I don't have anything to do that.
But you can just imagine it as
rules.
and you would have
Like a rule, yeah, okay. So like we need to add it on this part, like
So like you can also change all these posters, for example. You can copy stuff. So
I'm just exploring the environment. I'm just exploring the environment.
I see. What you could also do, same thing, talking about variations. Could you look closer at it? Could you be even more precise, more?
You mean elaborate a little bit more?
No, to get closer to it, because in Mario I introduced a couple of different meanings of jump.
Oh, that's what you thought the jumping on enemy, jumping on a pillar,
So
leaping.
are you sure that jump always will mean jump, or can it mean something else, for example? Or that a game level that could mean something else in other circumstances. This could be This is different.
Like that in this one here, or
You can, for example, take one of these post-its here.
oh, this is
Yeah.
box. This one is for.
We will go there later. You can click here to get a new element. And then it's okay. So 15 minutes is about over. Who wants more time for their work? Please show me your hands if you want more time.
No, I think I can.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So make a stop here, please. Let's talk about what you just did or what I just asked you to do. How did it feel? What were the difficulties? Because I'm sure you had difficulties there.
It was difficult to. Okay, I know what is the game, how it's played, and I need to describe it as not loosely as possible. I have to describe it what is the part, what is the role of the game, and creating rules in it. And that was actually the fun part for me. That the hardest one was quality, how the game mechanics determined.
Yeah.
And I was always thinking, oh, like, oh wait, that's a goal. Oh no, wait,
Yeah.
no, that's not goal, that's an output. And I was like, it's mixing in my head.
Yeah.
That quality and output are like mixed in my head, and I need to think like outside the box.
Who felt like this too? Who had this problem too?
Yeah, as I said, maybe just for me because I'm looking the quality that needs to be looked in the programming way, and I do not have that way. I feel like I started first.
Yeah, true. Yes, I said before when we sat outside, right? Game design touches on different areas and different forms of expressions. But when it comes to game design, or when it comes to gameplay design, it's very much about thinking rules. It's very much about thinking what if and what happens then. And game design is very much about creating in your head a certain, a certain coherent and hopefully realistic